Aloha, this is Brad, and one of the questions I get asked most on my YouTube channel is, what ukulele is that you're playing? And so I thought I would take a minute and run you through the different instruments that I have and that you might see me playing, whether on my website, liveukulele.com, or on the YouTube channel. And I'll start right here with my Kamaka HF-3. It's a tenor, and I bought it in 2007, I believe. I think it was the day before Easter. I remember buying it and then coming home and dyeing Easter eggs with my family. So we go a long ways back, and this is the ukulele that I was playing in my early videos, and it's pretty straightforward. It's completely stock except for a my side pickup, and I use Worth strings on it. Have pretty much since the beginning. I've always thought it sounded really great. It's one of the best sounding ukuleles that I own for sure. But the reason I stopped playing it is because the frets are actually wearing out. I've played it so much that there are divots inside the frets. And because of that, it's a little less articulate than I would like in an instrument. And so I have moved on. Sadly, I love it so much. I would have continued to play it, but it was getting to the point that it was sort of a struggle to play. And it still sounds fine. I still use it for recording and stuff every once in a while, but just as far as a main instrument goes, it's not quite there anymore. So I have played other instruments since. The first of which is my Moore Bettah tenor that Chuck Moore made for me back in 2013. And this is really the instrument that makes me feel like a spoiled child. It's just stunning. Obviously, Chuck is world renowned for his ukulele building, and I just ended up on his lineup one day, and a couple weeks later he called me to come check out the build and see what was going on, and he handed it to me as a surprise. I was like, what do you think of this one? And to be honest, it was really bright. It was super bright at the beginning, to the point of like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do with this? You know, he made me this beautiful instrument and it's so bright. But over the years, it's opened up amazingly and mellowed out. The first year I played Savarez Alliance strings on it just because they had a little bit darker sound, and that against the brand new spruce top sort of balanced the sound in a way that was a lot more usable. And then after the first year, so I started putting my standard Worth strings back on here. And then I also use a Savarez harp string for the low G. So I take the stock low G and I put it in a pile from the Worth set. And then I put the Savarez KF-95 harp string on top for the low G. And I find that that's a better balance between tension and like thumpy muddiness for the low G, because it seems like Worth are either too loose or they're too heavy. The extra heavy is just like putting, I don't know, a piece of string on the ukulele. So this KF-95 really strikes the balance that I like. It's tight enough to be relatively useful from a playing standpoint, and it's also light enough that it does ring a bit. But this guy is nothing fancy, even though it's Chuck. Everything's beautiful about it. It's just got a little BB for Brad Bordessa, which I thought was pretty cool. It's the reason you get a custom ukulele, is so you can have your name on it, right? But it's koa back and sides. It's actually like the sapwood koa or the heartwood. I think it's the one on the edge of the tree. I'm not sure. But it's the same wood that he used to make the cabinets in his house before realizing that he could probably build some nice instruments with that same wood. And spruce top, super tight grain spruce top. And actually, I talk about the sound being bright, but actually the color of the wood has darkened out a lot over the years as well. So it used to be like, it would be glaring on the camera. It'd be very white. But now it's become kind of that dark yellow, orange, brown color of aged spruce. But it's just got a real rich, articulate sound. So this is my main instrument whenever the conditions are appropriate. This is what replaced my Kamaka tenor, and several of my favorite things about it are the slotted headstock. I know people get all hung up on details and choices when they're looking at custom ukuleles or looking at buying ukuleles, and for me it's kind of like whatever, as long as it works. But that being said, I do find the functionality of the slotted headstock super great, having the tuning pegs pointing back while still getting the heavy gear ratio that you get from going around a sideways string post from the tuning peg is super valuable, and they all turn the same direction. That is just the greatest thing on your brain ever, is that not having to figure out like, okay, I'm upside down now with the normal headstock. That always drove me crazy. So that's really great. The tuners are super stable. They're Grovers. And this offset sound hole, I don't know if it does anything sound wise. I'm not gonna make any claims on that. I'll leave that up to Chuck. His reasoning is that there's more soundboard available to ring, whereas if you have the sound hole here, you have less space to vibrate. That's what I heard him say. But for me, as a gigging player, he put the volume knob for the pickup right here, and you can access the battery through the front. It's very easy to change the battery, easy to change the volume. You're not digging around the strings to make those things happen. So that's been great. I totally love that. It's got the LR Bags 5.0 pickup, and it's just super. I really just am so blessed to have such a nice instrument, and just mahalo Chuck every single time I pick it up and get to play it, because it's awesome. After that came this cool baritone that Andrew Katakis sent me. I emailed him and was like, oh, so what's the deal with getting a custom Ko'olau Solidbody? What kind of price would that run? And he was like, well, I think I have one in the warehouse that has got some blemishes on it. So he sent it to me, and I'm like looking for the blemishes. The finish was cracked, and it's still cracked. It looks like, if I look at it better, it's actually continuing to kind of hairline crack all over the place. But that doesn't matter to me. I'm not a looks guy, obviously, because I put a sticker on it. This guy is great for, well, it's my only baritone. So if I need a low baritone sound, this is what I reach for. But it's also really great for playing live and loud. This is what I play in my rock band. And not that I'm doing like much distortion stuff, but just being loud and not having to worry about feedback is really super cool. I swapped out the stock pickup for a Maisai. That's why the sticker's here. The sticker covers up the hole left by the volume pot. I couldn't figure out how to wire the Maisai up, or didn't have the time to figure it out. So I felt like that was a bit of an upgrade in the balance. The stock Pono pickup just kind of wasn't doing it for me between the wound strings and the nylon strings. And the Maisai just kind of sounds better, I think, in a plugged in context. Because a lot of times the strings would be out of balance, and you'd play on the wound strings and you just couldn't play them loud enough. And then you'd play on the nylon strings, it'd be bang, it'd be too loud. So the Maisai does the job a little bit better. I feel it could probably use a little more love to get it adjusted right. But again, the strings and the string tension and everything probably have a lot to do with it. And that's kind of a hard needle to thread on the baritone, I've found. But currently what I'm using are the two highest strings from a Savarez Alliance heavy guitar pack, which is the blue one. So I'm just using a B and an E from the Savarez guitar pack, and just make sure it's the blue ones. It's not the red ones. The red ones are lighter, normal tension, and the blue ones are heavy tension. And then it's a Thomistic Inkfeld. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's the CF-35 and the CF-30 for the D and G. And I like the strings really tight. This is probably tighter than most people would want on a pack of strings or a set of strings. But especially with this instrument, it kind of rattles if you put anything lower tension than that. And I like to fight it a bit, so it really kind of does the trick for me. It doesn't sound any kind of super great unplugged. It does the trick. It's good enough for practicing. I will say some people consider these Pono Solidbodies like practice ukuleles where they don't make much sound, and I find that to be very much not the case and would never recommend one of these for practicing, because I feel like it's got kind of a honky mid-range thing that makes it seem almost louder than normal ukuleles. So if you want to practice uke, this is not my recommendation. But for everything else, it's great. And once you plug it in, it sounds nice. It's got a nice warm sound. But really the main thing is just the hollow, or the semi-hollow body, chambered, solid body, whatever action they've got going here, is great for plugging in and playing loud. You never have to worry about feeding back when you get up close to the monitors or your amp. So that was cool. And I got my Porto sticker that my mom brought home from Portugal, because I'm Portuguese. And then lastly, I was playing out on the west coast of Big Island, it's basically a desert. It rarely rains. There's like 3 days out of the year that it rains. And I had a gig on the one day that it rained at Mauna Lani Resort. I was playing at a wedding reception with some of my friends. And I set up my PA, and I have my Moore Bettah ukulele, and we're playing, and the clouds keep coming, and we're watching the clouds. And it starts pouring down rain in the middle of our set. And, I'm freaking out because, A, you got to play the gig because people have paid you to play the gig. But B, my beautiful instrument, is in danger. Chuck has said in the past that you can get it wet. It's not going to be that big of a deal because he's got it sealed up real well. But, in my head I'm worrying, and I've got all my PA stuff. So that night I came home and I did two things. I bought insurance for all my gear, which was fairly affordable. I was surprised. And I emailed Joe at Blackbird and said, build me a Farallon. And so this is that instrument. And it is really cool. It's made out of linen fiber, which is basically flax, I believe. I'm not a super techie guy as far as that goes. But I took it out of the box in the gig bag that it shipped in right after it got dropped off on my doorstep. And I couldn't believe how well it played. It just plays straight as an arrow. Everything is super lined up. The frets and the neck are incredibly straight. And because of that, it's hands down the easiest ukulele I've ever played to play. It just, stuff that I play that's like kind of you got to work to play on other instruments is very easy to play on this Blackbird. So that's really super cool. It's a new technology. We're not really sure how they're going to last. I've got a friend who's got the Savoy travel guitar that they also make, and his top is kind of bowing up from the pressure. So we play together all the time. So we always look at each other's instruments like, oh, we don't really know how it's going to hold up. Fingers crossed, but we'll see. But just having the peace of mind of not having to worry about this guy quite as much as other traditional wood instruments has been great. It starts raining and I don't panic right off the bat. It's not going to be that big of a deal if the outside gets rained on. It has the 5.0 LR Bags pickup, which actually Joel at Hawaii Music Supply put in for me because the stock Fishman wasn't cutting it. It's got the straight back tuning pegs, the planetary ones, I think, which I don't really like. They're not, in my opinion, they're not precise enough. I like a higher gear ratio. So this 3-to-1 or whatever it is, it goes kind of fast, and if you have a string that's not cooperating, it can be kind of a pain in the butt to get it in tune if the string's jumping all over the place, or if you're in a room that's changing temperature, or you go from inside to outside. I don't super love these, but I understand what they're going for. They're trying to get the aesthetic to be a little more streamlined. Overall, it's been pretty cool. It's kind of got some quirks, you know, of the fiber technology. Every once in a while, there'll be a random hair that you kind of pull off or fix up. But it's been great, and really, the bottom line main thing is that it plays so easy. It's just a joy to play, and every time I bring it out to a gig, I usually take it to outside gigs or crazy bar gigs where, you know, things might be flying around, or people might be tripping into me and my instruments. It's just pretty cool to have the peace of mind that this thing is sturdy. It's sturdy, and it's, you know, I know Joe guys really take pride in what they do, but it's not necessarily as much of a one-of-a-kind instrument as my Moore Bettah. If I needed to, I could ask him to build me another one, whereas I don't really have that luxury asking Chuck to build a new instrument. But that is basically it. As far as what ones I play most, I play the Moore Bettah most. After that, I probably play this one at gigs and stuff, and then the baritone comes after that at gigs where I want to play baritone or have a baritone sound. I'd like to get a real baritone at some point, something with the actual acoustic body. That would be cool. And then the Kamaka kind of just, you know, has done her time and lives under my bed until I need an extra instrument or something to record with, because it has the koa sound, which I'm not getting really anywhere else with my instruments, because the Moore Bettah's got the spruce, and this is whatever, you know, koa thing this is. It doesn't really sound like a koa instrument, so still having a koa instrument is really a special thing. But that's basically what I play, and if you have any questions in the future about what instruments I play, I'm going to link you to this video so you can check it out and see. But definitely 4 is plenty. I know lots of people have lots of ukuleles, but 4 is way more than plenty. And if I wasn't a gigging musician, I would have less instruments probably. You know, I would only need 1. But because I play outside, I need the Farallon, and, you know, the baritone is kind of a different instrument just because of the tuning. But that's that. I'll catch you guys around. Be good to each other. Aloha.